Her far from home, her sight a curse. Where'er she'd roam, her warnings held in disregard, dismissed by all as mere canard. Her name resounds, a tale of woe. They hear the truth, but let it go. A warning card in ancient lore to heed Cassandra evermore.
The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. In the dusty provincial town of Skotoprignysk, there lived a man named Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, a coarse and vulgar buffoon whose life revolved around the pursuit of money and the seduction of women. He had married twice. His first wife, Adelaida Ivanovna Myasova, was a young, beautiful, and intelligent woman from a good family who had eloped with him in a fit of rebellious passion. She bore him a son, Dmitri, but soon grew to despise her husband's debauchery. She abandoned Fyodor and their child, fleeing to Petersburg, where she died miserably, perhaps from consumption or typhus. Fyodor, indifferent to everything except his pleasures, forgot about the boy almost entirely. Dmitri was raised haphazardly by relatives and servants. When he came of age, he returned to his father's town, a 28-year-old former soldier full of passion and impulsiveness. He demanded the inheritance his mother had left him, believing his father had squandered or withheld much of it. Fyodor, now a wealthy man through shrewd tavern keeping and money-lending despite his buffoonery, refused to settle accounts fairly. The two clashed bitterly, their enmity deepened by a shared lust for the same woman, Agrafena Alexandrovna Svetlova, known as Grashenka, a clever and alluring young woman of dubious reputation who toyed with both. Fyodor's second marriage had produced two more sons. His second wife, Sofia Ivanovna, was a meek, orphan girl tormented by her guardian, but drawn to Fyodor's apparent need for salvation. She bore him Ivan and Alexei before dying young, worn down by her husband's cruelty and the town's scorn. Again, Fyodor neglected his children. Ivan, the intellectual, was taken in by distant relatives and educated well, becoming a respected journalist and thinker. Alexei, the youngest, gentle and red-cheeked, found his way to the local monastery as a novice under the guidance of the revered elder Zosima. There was also a fourth son, born in scandal. Fyodor had once taken advantage of Lizaveta Smerdyakov, a mute, holy fool, and stinking beggar woman who wandered the town. She died giving birth, and the child, Pavel Smerdyakov, was raised in Fyodor's household as a servant. Epileptic and cunning, Smerdyakov grew resentful, listening intently to Ivan's philosophical talks while harboring dark thoughts. The family's tensions came to a head when they gathered at the monastery. Fyodor proposed a meeting as a jest, hoping Elder Zosima would mediate the inheritance dispute between him and Dmitri. Pyotr Alexandrovich Myasov, a relative of the first wife and a liberal skeptic, accompanied them. Alyosha, devoted to Zosima, hoped for reconciliation. Instead, Fyodor mocked the monks with vulgar stories, provoking chaos. Dmitri arrived late, furious, and the father and son nearly came to blows, not only over money but over Grashenka, whom Fyodor had promised 3,000 rubles if she would become his lover. In a surprising moment, the ailing Zosima knelt before Dmitri, bowing his head to the floor in silent acknowledgement of the suffering the young man would endure. Later, Zosima explained to Alyosha that he saw great trials ahead for Dmitri. The gathering dissolved in scandal with no resolution. Alyosha moved between his brothers and father, trying to mend what he could. Dmitri sent him to Katerina Ivanovna Verkhovtsova, his proud and noble fiancée, to break off their engagement. Katerina had once been saved from disgrace by Dmitri, who gave her money after her father's embezzlement scandal. She had offered herself in repayment, but Dmitri's subsequent betrayal, stealing 3,000 rubles she entrusted to him and pursuing Grashenka, wounded her deeply. Alyosha discovered Ivan with Katerina. The two shared a tense, proud love neither would fully admit. Ivan, tormented by doubt, revealed his atheism to Alyosha. He could not accept a God who allowed the suffering of innocents, especially children. He recited his poem, The Grand Inquisitor, in which Christ returns during the Inquisition only to be rejected by the Church, which refers control over true freedom. Ivan argued that without God, everything is permitted. Meanwhile, tensions at Fyodor's house escalated. Dmitri, desperate for money to pursue Grushenka honorably and repay Katerina, confronted his father again. He threatened to kill him. Smerdyakov, Fyodor's lackey, hinted to Ivan that danger loomed and urged him not to leave for Moscow. Ivan departed anyway, conflicted. Zosima's death followed. His body decayed rapidly, causing scandal among the monks who expected a miracle of preservation. Alyosha, shaken but faithful, left the monastery to engage more fully with the world, carrying Zosima's teachings of active love and responsibility for all. The crisis broke one fateful night. Fyodor Pavlovich was found murdered in his home, his skull crushed. Dmitri had been seen raging nearby, covered in blood, with a large sum of money, 3,000 rubles. He suddenly possessed. He had spent the night in a frenzy at Mokroy with Grushenka, celebrating what he thought was their future together after she chose him over Fyodor and a Polish suitor. The police arrested him. Evidence mounted. His threats, the missing money Fyodor had set aside for Grushenka, and witnesses to his violence. Dmitri protested his innocence. He admitted his hatred for his father and his wild passions, but swore he had not killed him. He had struck Grigory, the old servant, in a panic, but claimed the money came from what remained of Katerina's 3,000 after his earlier spending. In prison, Dmitri reflected deeply, accepting suffering as purification. Alyosha supported him, visiting and offering brotherly love. Ivan, guilt-ridden, confronted Smerdyakov, who confessed the murder. Smerdyakov had used a brass pestle, mimicking Dmitri's threats, and taken the money. He justified it through Ivan's own ideas. If there is no God and no immortality, then all is permitted. Ivan, horrified, realized his philosophical influence had enabled the crime. He had unconsciously wished his father dead. Smerdyakov hanged himself soon after, leaving Ivan in despair. Ivan suffered a feverish breakdown, hallucinating a devil that mocked his doubts and exposed his hypocrisy. The trial became a spectacle. The town divided. Dmitri's defense highlighted his character, passionate but not murderous, while prosecution painted him as a jealous parricide. Katerina, torn between love and revenge, initially supported him, but in a fit of wounded pride when Ivan tried to take blame, produced a letter Dmitri had written in drunken rage threatening to kill their father. The peasants on the jury, swayed by class and moral outrage, convicted Dmitri. Yet truth lingered beneath. Alyosha knew more from his brother's confessions. Ivan's madness deepened, but Katerina cared for him. Dmitri, sentenced to Siberia, planned an escape with Grushenka's help and Katerina's reluctant aid. They would flee to America, seeking redemption through hardship. Alyosha, meanwhile, found purpose among the town's children. He befriended a group of schoolboys, particularly young Alyosha, the son of Captain Snegiryov, whom Dmitri had humiliated by dragging him by the beard over debts. Alyosha, ill and dying from consumption after the family's shame, became a symbol of innocent suffering. Alyosha comforted the boy and his family, gathering the children around Alyosha's deathbed. At the funeral, Alyosha spoke to the boys of memory, brotherhood, and the eternal goodness that binds souls. They cheered him, promising never forget Alyosha or one another. In this way, the Karamazov family storm revealed the depths of human nature. Dmitri embraced suffering and potential renewal in exile. Ivan grappled with the abyss of his intellect, his soul fractured between reason and the need for faith. Alyosha, the gentle heart, carried forward Zosima's message that each person is responsible for all, and love, active, forgiving love, could bridge the divides of doubt, passion, and evil. The brothers, bound by blood and fate, faced their separate paths, each seeking meaning in a world where God's silence tested the soul, yet where the possibility of redemption endured.
Chains they took her far tell